It's like a shark, NATO, except with poop.
This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I had the best words, tolerated. I know words. Mike Pounds. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. Had the best words. God bless the United States.
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation, hey everybody, welcome to the show. Hope everybody had an excellent weekend and are ready for some news and politics. And of course, my opinion. That's generally what you're here for. I know you guys. I know you. I'm glad to have you here. Hail Acid Dragon. Yes, I'm feeling especially acidic today. We have the Million MAGA March. We'll talk about that. Fun times. We've got John Bolton. John Bolton is putting too much faith in Republican voters. I'm going to explain why. But again, John Bolton. It's John Bolton. All right. So that said, we have an interesting story of a person who decided to show up for work even though he wasn't actually hired. Fun. And yes, it's related to politics. So that's awesome. We've got Mitch McConnell and we've got Ivanka Trump. So all this fun stuff and some good news on the coronavirus vaccine, at least as far as what we know. So that's good stuff. So we've got some good news and we got some fun news. As usual, it's the normal mix that we have on the show. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Support us, all that wonderful stuff. You can see the ticker down below. With that said, let's get into the show. Once I figure out what I'm doing. There we go. It's a long weekend. Actually, no, it's not. Not long enough. They're never long enough. All right. Anyway. On Saturday, thousands of Trump supporters gathered in Washington, D.C. for the Million MAGA March, which didn't turn out to be all that, all that well populated, I should say. There was not a million people there. We can be sure of that. In fact, here's just one of the pictures that we have. Okay. So that's a few thousand. As you can see, they're not exactly backed up to the road. That would barely fill part of a stadium. Okay. So the Million MAGA March. Not so much. But that said, it's not as if it's completely empty or nobody there, not sad or anything like that, but it's still kind of sad. And so those people, of course, that showed up were there to protest on behalf of the outgoing president. A lot of them were, QAnon people. They're saying, stop the steal, stop the steal. What steal? You're trying to steal the election. Donald Trump's trying to steal the election by not conceding after he lost the election fair and square. But okay, whatever. Given the irony of the whole stop the steal thing, whatever. All right, we know that already. But anyway, now I wish I could leave it there and be like, haha, ridiculous, because it is. No, it didn't take long for things to get stupid. Stupider. Starting with White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany, who tweeted photos of the gathering. And I'm going to show you one of them to, be fair. Okay. So here is one of the images that she tweeted out. Okay. That view, that's from Fox News. And she tweeted this saying that more than 1 million Trump supporters were in attendance, despite, again, the photos showing not really, you can't even really tell in context how many people there are. Again, there's probably a few thousand in that picture, but it's not really something that you can pull out and do a panoramic of and be like, oh, wow, it really is 1 million people. No, that's what she tweeted out. And she said, amazing. More than 1 million marchers for President Donald Trump descend on the swamp in support. Best base in political history. We love you guys. We love you. We especially love when you give us money. The same. But that's not 1 million people. Not 1 million people. Now let me show you one of the larger marches that have happened within this last 4 years. Okay. Let me show you from the 2017 Women's March. So just to give you a little bit of comparison, all right, of what we're looking at. And this is not even going to be 1 million people. But that's from the Women's March. Now you can see people all the way backed up. This is a much, much wider, much higher shot. You can see many, many more people. Again, this was the Women's March in 2017 to protest against Donald Trump. So now, again, not 1 million people. In Washington, D.C. alone, the Women's March actually drew over 470,000 people. And if you count worldwide, 7 million. Now, as far as I know, there was no worldwide MAGA march. That is strictly, well, why would somebody in France want to make America great again? Why would they do that? It makes sense, but they wouldn't. So obviously, there is no worldwide MAGA march to support President Donald Trump. So, but as far as a women's march to protest against Donald Trump, turns out the world doesn't exactly like him either. Who knew, right? Who knew? And so the total count estimated for the Trump MAGA march, million MAGA, around 12,000. So 12,000. I know streamers that get more than 12,000 people watching. I'm saying, I wish I was one of them. I'm not. Sad. But I know streamers that regularly hit over 12,000 live viewers. And yet, Donald Trump can only bring about 12,000 people out to his rally, 10 to 12,000. Roughly around that number. Not super impressive. I'm just saying. Now, I mean, again, a few thousand, a million, whatever, MAGA math. It turns out to be a lot of people, tremendous turnout. Okay. Now, some people were reminded, by the way, of the first time that this happened, that they used MAGA math and alternative facts to talk about the crowd sizes. In fact, here's Sawyer Hackett, senior advisor to former Obama cabinet member and presidential candidate Julian Castro. He said, quote, "Big Sean Spicer energy here. 1 million people. 1 million. Journalist Max Burns also tweeted, "The inability to tell the difference between 1,000 MAGA march and 1 million MAGA march is another reason Trump lost the counts in Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Arizona, Nevada, And Wisconsin, that's a burn. That's a good one. And by the way, here's another one. Jesse Hawken, the writer, said, this is nowhere near 1 million people, Kaylee. More Americans have died of COVID than are assembled here. And speaking, of course, of COVID, a lot of these people did not wear masks. I'm just saying. During, of course, the biggest COVID spike yet. A couple more tweets here. Brad Betts says, law enforcement needs to make sure to bring up the riot gear and tear gas they like to use in the BLM protesters. Stay consistent. Oh, yes, that'll definitely happen. Frederick Joseph says, when we peacefully protested en masse to support Black Lives Matter, we were met with rubber bullets and tear gas. Of course, these guys, obviously not. Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands of unmasked people are taken to the streets in the name of white supremacy, being guarded by police. That's a great point. Speaking of that, there was violence at this demonstration. In fact, there were a lot of demonstrators that were members of Proud Boys and QAnon that showed up. They faced off against counter protesters. There were some fights. I'm seeing either 1 to 3 people that were stabbed. Again, we don't necessarily know if it was 3 people, but definitely 1 person was stabbed, according to the Metropolitan Police Department. And according to Vice, there were small outbreaks of violence between Trump supporters and non-Trump supporters and protesters. For example, counter-protesters heckled Trump supporters attempting to turn in for the night, leading to police standoffs. Of course, women in Trump hats were seen tearing down Black Lives Matter signs from buildings. You had people getting stabbed, Proud Boys. In fact, D.C. police confirmed at least 1 stabbing that took place around 8 p.m., and that the victim was taken to the hospital for non-life-threatening injuries. That's good. That nobody died. Separately, an independent journalist, Talia Jane, said she was stabbed in the ear by a Proud Boy. So that's what's going on here. And then those same Proud Boys, by the way, they got a very warm reception from the crowd because, again, like, Trump can say, oh, I don't know who the Proud Boys are. The Proud Boys stand down and stand by. Well, his followers know who they are. They love the Proud Boys. They love them. They were cheered as they walked by. So, and again, some of them shouted, Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. And of course, members of them, that group, spent most of their night drinking at a popular bar for police officers, likely with police officers. I don't know about the last part, but I mean, to say that white supremacists and police officers don't tend to work together in a lot of situations where they're both facing off against BLM protesters, come on, you know they absolutely are. And so they would drink at Harry's Bar and then make their way towards counter protesters at BLM Plaza near the White House. According to DC police, overall, about 21 people were arrested. 4 of them were for gun violations, according to the Washington Post. So this entire MAGA rally is essentially what it is. Okay. And by the way, what's funny about this is that Donald Trump was barely even there. He drove by on his way to go golfing. Hilarious. He don't even care. He doesn't even care. He's just going to go and golf. That's what he does. But the entire thing is a representation of Donald Trump's support. You have a militant minority of the country who espouses racism and conspiracy theories. Again, the whole theme of this entire thing is Donald Trump didn't lose the election. The Democrats are stealing it from us, and we're here to protest that. Well, again, that's probably why only 12,000 people or 10 to 12,000 people showed up. That's it. And look, as I've said before, you don't have to be an out-and-out racist to support Donald Trump. No. But by supporting Trump, you basically admit that racism is not the deal breaker. It doesn't matter to you. You admit that whatever personal benefit that you get from supporting President Trump or a Trump presidency or Trump administration is worth ignoring the rampant racism, misogyny, and hate that this administration has for anybody who is non-white, not straight, non-Christian, and non-conservative. And if you actually take those people out, who are not the out and out open racism or racists, but those who don't really care and see just like a benefit, like, oh, you cut my taxes. Well, this is what you have left. These are the hardcore supporters, the white nationalists, cult members, and conspiracy theorists. So that's what we're looking at here. The cream of the crop, or crap. Worst of the worst, MAGA. All right. Moving on. Something related. I think you'll find some relation here. Sounds like 57% of white Americans you speak of. All right. Taking a page out of Donald Trump's book, a Republican who was defeated on November 3rd decided to show up for work anyway. Oh, okay. According to the Chicago Sun-Times, defeated Republican Jim Oberweis decided to attend orientation for new House members on Thursday and Friday, even though Representative Lauren Underwood, a Democrat from Illinois, has been projected the winner of their 14th congressional district race. So now wait, this guy loses and shows up anyway. Well, I'm here for orientation, guys. But you didn't win. Yeah, but you don't know that. On Saturday, Oberweis posted an image on Twitter of him touring the White House. You can see it's in the sidebar. And this is at a White House event for GOP freshman members. So he's like, yeah, I'm taking the tour. I'm meeting people. I'm hobnobbing. This is where I'm going to work. But wait, you're not going to work there. You didn't win. You lost. On Saturday, that's when he went to this. The race was called by the Associated Press on Thursday. Normally, if it's a really, really close race and we don't know, it's like a toss-up district or whatever, then they're going to wait to make sure to count. Obviously, they're not going to project the race to be over before they've counted all the ballots. Now, you might think, well, wait a minute. Well, they should count all the ballots first, right? And then certify the results before they call the election. That's not how it works this time. It's not how it's worked any time. That's not how it worked in 2016. So if you're complaining about it now, but didn't complain about it then when Donald Trump was winning, there's a little bit of hypocrisy in that. Because again, this is how it works. Generally, you look at places that are swing districts that generally go one way or the other. You look at trends, you look at polls. There's a whole host of things that people will look at before they will actually call a race. Because the thing that they don't want to do is to do, what is it? Dewey defeats Truman, right? They do not want that to happen again. So that's why these news organizations are actually incredibly careful before they call a race, because they don't want to be wrong. And so they'll look at all the different factors, and generally that's why, they'll call it, if they call it on election night, or at least a day or two after, well then, they're pretty confident that that person that they have projected to be the winner is the winner. So, like I said, Thursday, 2 days later, this was called. And so they were pretty confident that Oberweis did not win. In fact, at that point, the count put her, Underwood, put her at 4,288 votes ahead of Oberweis. And now the Oberweis campaign says, wait a minute. No, you can't call it yet. You can't call it yet. We have provisional ballots. Oh, all right. Sure. I get that, right? In fact, here's a spokesperson, Travis Aiken, saying the numbers being reported are accurate. But Oberweis still has a chance. There's still a chance. We think there are more provisional ballots out there than have been said, and he thinks that that's going to somehow make up a 4,000 vote difference. Great. Wonderful. In fact, we do have some updated numbers from there, right? So far, with more mail-in ballots being counted, Underwood has, the vote total has changed. Underwood now has an even bigger lead, going from 4,288 votes to 4,688 votes, according to the Associated Press. Oops. Sad. Nonetheless, Aiken had told reporters on Thursday that he would not concede and would seek a recount after all the ballots are counted. So now, of course, he will. He added the campaign will pursue the recount once ballot counting is completed by November 17th, that is tomorrow, and the results are certified, which could take longer. All right, well, and guess what? Until then, what's he going to do? Keep showing? Is he going to show up to work? He'd be like, hey, I won. I get to be here. So I'm going to show up to the orientation and, you know, sad day for you guys. Oh, hey, Lauren. Fancy meeting you here. That's because I actually got elected, not you. Yeah, that's going to be kind of awkward. I actually don't know when they get started, but could you imagine, though? Like, hey, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? I won the election. You didn't. Oh, we don't know that. They're still counting the ballots. I've already been called by the Associated Press. Don't care. Republicans. These are Republicans, man. Holy crap. I mean, now, here's another hilarious excuse, by the way, and when he decided to, as to why he decided to go. On Friday, Aiken said that Oberweis was on the plane when the Associated Press called the race on Thursday. Okay, but then you got off the plane, and over the weekend, you still went. I don't know what that has anything to do with anything. It doesn't make any sense. Like you were on the plane the whole day? You didn't have your cell phone for 2 days? That somebody couldn't tell you not to go to orientation? You just decided to show up anyway? What is wrong with you? I know. He says, you know what? No. They told me to show up anyway. They told me to show up. And that's what Aiken says. He says, Oberweis attending the session was not supposed to be an in-your-face statement. It was something that he was advised to do, so he just did it. He just showed up. New member orientation is held only once. Yeah, I didn't want to miss it. I didn't want to miss it. I didn't want to miss it. You know what this is like? This is like me showing up for orientation for a job that I applied for, but I didn't get. What do you mean I didn't get the job? I didn't agree to that. You didn't ask me. No, I say that I got the job. I want to recount. Recount. No, I'm sorry, dude. We went with somebody else. You're going to have to go. Fake news. Recount. Fake news. Now, here's the other thing, right? I think this is a real reason that he wanted to show up. As I explained, that the orientation mainly deals with the logistics of getting a house office up and running. Sessions and trainings are held going over office budgets and equipment, staffing, ethics rules, and how government money can be used. All that stuff, I feel like you can find out, like, without having to go to these sessions, right? I feel like this information is, like, available. However, the last part, new members also use FaceTime with leaders to lobby for committee assignments. So this guy probably wanted to show up, even knowing that maybe he's not going to win. Very likely he's not going to win. So he shows up to be like, hey, I'm Jim Oberweis. Let's have a chat. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to win, but guess what? I could be a lobbyist. Definitely doing those, that connecting to try to make friends in Congress so that maybe the next time you run, you can get some of their support. Or if you go into the lobbyist business, that you already have some connections. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's the most relevant. The FaceTime, absolutely. And interestingly enough, this is a precedent that Donald Trump has set for Republicans. That if the media has called an election, well, we're not going to care about that anymore because the media doesn't call elections. No. The media can't actually decide an election. We've got to wait until it's certified and all this stuff. You realize that, like, once the other party concedes, all right, concedes the election, usually should happen, a few days, maybe on the night of, if the results are decisive enough, decides to, okay, I've conceded, whatever. Now we can get on to the process, because there's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes during presidential and congressional transitions, right? Now, especially during a presidential transition, that's where it's really important for Donald Trump to concede in the first place so that Joe Biden can start getting his administration set up and he can start working, getting intelligence briefings, coronavirus, task force meetings, all that stuff. And to start getting things set up so that when he takes power January 20th, he can start work. Like, let's get to work. Let's do it. We're all caught up. Let's go. Let's do a seamless transition. Donald Trump does not want to do that. He is not interested in a seamless or peaceful transition from what it seems. And so it's just, he's being a baby. Okay. And one of the things that they're using is, well, we've got to do all this stuff first. Because we don't believe the quote unquote fake news media has the power to call elections. And again, this is projected winner. Obviously, if there's an issue with electors and it gets complicated, but generally they'll look at the numbers and they'll be like, well, it appears that candidate A has more votes than candidate B. So it looks like this candidate A won. Well, that's not difficult. Okay. That's not a hard thing. So, and that's not like evidence of some conspiracy. It's just saying person with bigger numbers wins election. Wow. And even, of course, when you talk about the electoral college, again, bigger numbers in the states generally means that you get more electoral college votes. And that bigger number also better than smaller number mean you win with bigger number. So, and of course, Joe Biden has all of those things. I'm trying to explain it to a Trump supporter, and I don't know if I'm going to get through. But anyway, and it's funny, when you try to explain these things, they're not going to listen anyway. So, because nothing matters anymore. The facts don't matter. Facts don't matter. Just nothing. It just doesn't. Numbers, facts. Everything apparently is just fake news. Insane. All right. Okay. So let me take a quick break here. We're going to come back. We've got, let's see, John Bolton coming up next. We're going to talk about Ivanka Trump and then stimulus. Democrats failing on stimulus again. And of course, Republicans blocking them. So we're going to do all of that after we come after the break. And I'm going to see about trying to fix the whole Twitch notifications. Apparently are too loud. And so we'll see what we can do to take care of that. So we'll be back around the nation. Stay right here.
I have not loved this conversation.
I will eat your ass.
Tighten up my meat. I like my meat tight.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Around the Nation right here. Waldorf Nation, Jeff Waldorf here with you. Hopefully I fixed that. I kind of like having those, those notifications pop up on the screen. So the sound was getting a little annoying, but yeah. All right. So before we get back into the next story, I do want to read some super chats, donations here. As soon as I figure out the sidebar game here. All right. LL says, I really enjoyed Trump snubbing the crowd on his way to the golf course. I did too. That's fun. I love it. Mark Davis says, thanks for the show. Well, thank you, Mark, for the donation. Martin Trammell with the Twitch problem. Hopefully I got that fixed, dude. Appreciate that. Zachary Flute says, feelings don't care about your facts. Yeah, apparently that's how they work. Star Trek Dragon Bald Z. Oh my god, you guys. Seriously. All right. Anyway, what have we got here over on Twitch? My Twitch fam here. Let's see what you got going on for me there. Well, I want to thank you, Kathy, for the bits. Much appreciated. Got some biddies. Love it. I think those are the first bits I've ever gotten. So thank you very much, Kathy, for that. I appreciate that. Thank you for all the new follows here. Dr. Dragon Rider, Bohemian Lucy, Lieutenant Lumpy, and Mini Morpho. Mini Morpho with the fantastic artwork, by the way, that I've seen on Twitter. That's awesome stuff. Amazing stuff. All right. That's it. Thank you for those donations. Super, super nice. I really appreciate it. Obviously goes to help the show. So, all right. Moving on. Let's do it. Let's go to John Bolton. While the majority of the Republican Party is rejecting the results of the 2020 election, former National Security Advisor John Bolton has this message. He is calling on Republican leaders to tell the Trump supporters to accept reality. Here's his pitch.
Well, I think it's very important for leaders of the Republican Party to explain to our voters, who are not as stupid as the Democrats think, that in fact Trump has lost the election and that his claims of election fraud are baseless.
All right, so no, they're stupid. No, there's a contingency of Trump supporters that are absolutely fucking dumb. They will continue to claim without evidence that Donald Trump somehow won this election, and they are deeply ignorant by choice. Again, stupid is a choice. They don't want to believe it. They're going to make up conspiracies. They already have. They're ignoring the fact that mail-in ballots have an incredibly low rate of fraud, and that they massively broke for Biden because, again, smart people realized they didn't want to be part of the problem when it came to coronavirus, and to give that coronavirus to their friends and family. So they decided to opt to vote by mail. Yes, I know. And if you voted for Donald Trump by mail, congratulations. You're not an idiot. You just have very bad politics that I disagree with. Congratulations. But look, my point is, for the people who continue to deny the results of the election, Republican leaders trying to explain it to them, oh, no, you understand, this totally legitimate election, that's not going to work. In fact, what they're going to do is what they do to John, to this guy, John Bolton. Oh, you're a rhino. You're deep state. You're part of this problem. Look, I ain't got no love for John Bolton at all. And so he is a problem. I despise John Bolton. But at the same time, it's like, no, he's one of you. He's a Republican. He ain't nobody's liberal. All right. And so, but again, they're going to call you the worst things that they already have. right? Because you dared go against the baby. And that's what, who we have in office right now is a baby. And look, again, the Republican Party is the party of Trump. And so having the Republican leadership in Congress come out and say, as well as governors and things like that, come out and say, oh, no, it's true. It's true. Donald Trump did not win the election. It's not going to do anything for them. No, it's going to get the base pissed off at them. And so they're going to sit there and accept the fact that they are the party of Trump. And they're happy with that. They're fine with it because it gets them into the power. It keeps them in power. All right. And so that said, this is why a majority of Republican senators and Congress people have refused to admit the reality, or they have remained silent, that there is no widespread voter fraud. Donald Trump did lose. The recounts will not overturn the election. That's it. That's it. You might get a few hundred votes, maybe a couple thousand votes, switch over to Donald Trump, or get a couple hundred votes thrown out, like in Pennsylvania. But it's not enough to overturn the election. And so what are you doing? Look, if you had widespread, evidence of widespread voter fraud, well, then shouldn't you have presented in court? It's not like you haven't had a ton of different lawsuits. Oh, but you didn't, because you didn't have any fraud, any evidence of fraud. 9 lawsuits over the weekend were dismissed. 9 gone. Why? No evidence. There's no evidence. Now, here's what Bolton went on to say. I've got another video here. Take a look.
The fact is that we've seen litigation in all the key battleground states, and it has failed consistently. Right now, the Trump campaign is doing the legal equivalent of pitching pennies. Where are their silver dollars? Where is the evidence? I think as every day goes by, it's clearer and clearer there isn't any evidence.
He's right. He's right. And that's why the judges are starting to get pissed off. Let me give you some examples, right? So you've got Nevada U.S. District Judge Andrew Gordon. Here's what he said. At what point does this get ridiculous? He asked before ruling against Republicans trying to overturn the vote there. Michigan Judge Cynthia Stevens questioned attorneys about an affidavit that Republicans had gathered in which a witness said that they were told about mishandling of ballots. Stevens said this, quote, "What I have at best is a hearsay affidavit." That was, of course, originally written on a Post-it note. Quote, "If there's something in that affidavit that would indicate the witness observed activity that would be a deprivation of the rights of the poll watchers, I want you to please focus my attention on that. I heard somebody else say something. Tell me why that's not hearsay. Come on now. Come on now. Come on." More. Pennsylvania. Trump's lawyers have suggested the poll observers had been shut out of the locations where ballots were being counted. That's not true. The lawyers actually acknowledged that there was a quote-unquote non-zero amount of people in the room, and that poll watchers, observers, had been permitted within 15 feet of poll workers. U.S. District Judge Paul Diamond, appointed by George W. Bush, by the way, he said, quote, "I'm sorry. Then what's your problem?" Got thrown out again. More. In federal case meant to disqualify cured ballots, Judge Timothy Savage went savage. He questioned the very premise of the Republican attorney's argument, saying, "I don't understand how the integrity of the election was affected," Savage said during the November 4th hearing. One lawyer representing Republican poll challengers in Michigan argued that the coronavirus restrictions meant that they were positioned as far as 20 feet back, to the point where you can't see anything. I can't see anything. I'm too far away. To which Judge Timothy M. Kenney said this, quote, "Where's the facts about that?" He then described the poll watchers' interpretation of events as, quote, "incorrect and not credible." And then going back to Pennsylvania, you had Judge Richard P. Haas grilling Trump campaign lawyer Jonathan Goldstein at a court hearing last week. He wanted to know the basis for the Trump claims of fraud. He said, I'm asking you a specific question, and I'm looking for a specific answer. Are you claiming that there's any fraud in connection with these 592 disputed ballots? Said Haas. Goldstein replied, quote, to my knowledge at present, no. Now, there's a reason that he said no, despite the fact that Fox News is constantly talking about voter fraud. We've got the evidence. We've got it right here. We've got it here. The Project Veritas. We've got the evidence. We've got the evidence. Massive fraud. Massive fraud. It turns out that if you lie in front of millions of people on television, you don't get punished. But if you lie in front of a judge and you don't provide evidence, well, then you get put in prison. That's why they can never come up with actual evidence in court, despite Fox News, despite conservative media saying, look, we've got the fraud. It's right here. It's right here. We've got video evidence. It's not actual evidence. And so they got nothing. They got nothing. It is all about appeasing the man baby in chief and his dumb cult followers, which, as I've said, they are the Republican Party now. The Republican Party is now the party of Trump, and I'm sorry, but they are irredeemable. There is a section of that party that is absolutely irredeemable, and it is the party of Trump. And John Bolton seems to be having a really hard time trying to come to terms with that. In fact, one more video.
But you haven't seen that from Republican leaders. Very few of them are accepting those results. So what happens? I mean, you can talk about that all you want, but they're not doing it.
Well, I think they're getting ready to do it. I've said I think this is a character test for the Republican Party. I don't buy the argument that Donald Trump has hypnotized Republican voters or that they're not capable of accepting the truth. This is a myth that's being perpetrated that's simply not true. But it requires people to explain what happened. The Trump campaign simply has no evidence. Their basic argument is this was a conspiracy so vast and so successful that there's no evidence of it. Now, if that's true, I really want to know who the people are who pulled this off. We need to hire them at the CIA. The fact is, this is all blue smoke and mirrors, and I think people will accept that if they see leaders they respect explain it to them.
No, they won't. No. Look, you had people come out. It's like this guy does not remember the whole thing about birtherism, about calling Donald Trump calling Barack Obama a basically Kenyan Muslim, okay, saying that he was not born here. Birtherism. People came out, Republicans came out and said, well, yeah, of course he's born here. And what are you talking about? Of course there's a birth certificate. And still you had Republicans like, nope, I don't believe in the evidence. In fact, the evidence is part of the conspiracy. Just the fact that birth certificate that you're holding in your hand right now is a fake. It's a forgery meant to throw us off. Q's got all the answers. So that's it. That's again, you're not going to have these conspiracy theorists that are part of the Republican Party. They are not going to respond to logic and reason. They don't. Because, again, I forget what the name of the effect is, but basically boiled down to the most basic explanation of it is that the more you show certain people evidence and facts, the more they will reject those and hold on to their conspiracy theories. So understand that he's like John Bolton is delusional if he thinks that the Republican Party right now, which is basically made up of conspiracy theorists, cult members, and white nationalists, are going to, suddenly go, right. It turns out Lindsey Graham just told me that Donald Trump did lose the election. So I guess he lost. Sorry. Sorry. No, but he is right in the fact that this is a character test for the Republican Party, and they are going to fail it every single time, because that's, and honestly, it's not because they're stupid, right? It is because you have had decades of media programming from Fox News, conservative media, OAN is fairly new, but people like Glenn Beck, they would, go back and put these basic talk radio with Rush Limbaugh, the media's liberal, they're all lying about everything. We're the only ones that you can trust. Everywhere, blasting your airwaves. People are like, oh yeah, man, CNN, totally liberal. Wow. Yeah, I can't listen to them. I can only listen to Fox News, which is then going to tell me exactly what I want to hear. It is this confirmation bias. And that's what the Republican Party, their media structure is. It's all confirmation bias and conspiracy theories. And they've been doing this again for decades and decades. And there was, and I forget the name of I believe it's, I can't think of his name now, a longtime conservative radio personality, where he comes up and he says, this is going to bite us in the ass one day. Like this alternate reality, this bubble that we have created for our listeners in order to get them to listen to us. Well, now it's going to backfire us at some point. And he said this like back in 2015, 2016, right after Donald Trump had gotten elected. And I'm sorry that I can't remember the name. Definitely not Rush Limbaugh. No, not Joe Walsh either. Again, it's a conservative podcaster, radio host, Charlie something, but not obviously not Charlie Kirk. I cannot think of his name. But that's unimportant right now. What's important is his message. And the fact that he basically knew the problem. No, not Don Imus or Ted Koppel. Charlie Sykes, Tampa Dan, thank you. Chat to the rescue. Charlie Sykes. He said, yeah, this is going to destroy us. This alternate reality that we spun around our movement, making sure that nobody trusts facts anymore. And so that sticks to me. I mean, it sticks with me. Okay. And I've been thinking about this every time I think about the conservative media ecosphere and what people hear and what people are seeing on a day-to-day basis. And when I critique conservative media, this is what I think of. This alternate reality where no facts and reality will not penetrate. And so what do you do with that? And understand that this is the end result of this corporate, right-wing media ecosystem. And it's the character of the Republican Party. And as far as the Republican politics are concerned, again, Donald Trump is not an aberration. He is the logical conclusion to conservative ideology. Vapid, narcissistic, sociopathic, money-grubbing, failson. Oh, with authoritarian tendencies. Yeah. Moving on. The show is a community effort. Absolutely it is. Thank you. Renato Herrera asks, why don't I run for public office? A lot of reasons. For one, I've been on YouTube for 6 years-ish, maybe a little bit longer, but I started doing a normal show about 2015-ish. Imagine the stuff that they can dig up and use in ads. Yikes. So anyway, let's move on. Ivanka Trump tried to take a little bit of a victory lap after it was announced that a new vaccine trial was showing a lot of promise. Now, unfortunately for her, she crashed and burned. So let me give you the details before I get into that. earlier today, Moderna had actually announced some good news. One of its vaccine candidates had a 94.5% in its phase 3 trial. It was proven to be about 95% effective and could be safely stored up to about 30 days of normal refrigeration. So that is something that the Pfizer vaccine could not do. The Pfizer vaccine actually had to be stored in very, very cold temperatures, meaning that really if we went with that vaccine, it would have very difficult time with distribution. So having a vaccine that could be stored at refrigeration temperatures would be a lot easier. All right, so that said, great news if it holds up. I'm very excited at the prospect of actually ending the coronavirus pandemic and getting some stuff back to normal. Obviously, there would have to be more testing to ensure that it's safe and effective. Do we really trust the Trump FDA? I don't know about that. But then again, Joe Biden is the president-elect. I'm sure that at least Biden would have his FDA look at it a little bit closer to make sure that everything is more safe. But that said, Ivanka, she's going to come out and tweet about how it's the Trump administration. They're the ones who brought you the vaccine. 100%. Here's what she said. The Moderna NIH vaccine, the National Institute of Health, is the second candidate in a week to show strong efficacy in phase 3 trials. Congratulations, Moderna, Donald Trump, the Operation Warp Speed team, and all that made the historic breakthrough possible. It will help bring an end to this terrible pandemic. Yes, I'm sure she really cares about that. She followed up with a few minutes later with another self-congratulation, saying, Brecken, the second effective COVID-19 vaccine in a week. This historic breakthrough has been delivered at an unprecedented warp speed by Moderna, President Trump, NIH, and Operation Warp Speed. Promise kept. Here's why that's bullshit. Okay. Now, so the big credit, Operation Warp Speed. The National Institute of Health, they couldn't have done this, without partnering with Moderna. It's a private partner, private-public partnership. And so it's all us though. We were in charge of that whole thing, and it happened on our watch. So we should get all the credit for this vaccine. No. See, here's the thing. If Donald Trump had his way, the National Institute of Health would have been devastated by the cuts. Remember, in every budget proposal put out by the White House, by Trump, the NIH, as well as research and development for drugs, was massively cut. Back in 2017, for example, Trump called for massive cuts to spending on medical and scientific research, public health and disease prevention programs, and health insurance for low-income Americans and children. Under that proposed budget, the NIH, the National Institute of Health, would see its annual budget cut by 18%. From 31.8 to 26 billion. This includes cuts to the National Cancer Institute by $1 billion, National Heart and Lung and Blood Institute $575 million, and the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases $838 million. Those cuts did not come to pass, thankfully, but the CDC would have also lost 17% of its budget, a total cut of about $1.2 billion. Now you could be like, well, come on, dude. Like, let's be fair. That was back in 2017. Okay, but we knew that there was, I wouldn't say we knew there was a coronavirus coming, but we were trying to prepare. The Obama administration was concerned about a possible coronavirus coming out of China. That's why we had people there. That's why we had an entire infectious disease team put together to monitor the situation, to monitor the area, to make sure that we could respond quickly if something like that happened. And it did. The thing is, Donald Trump also eliminated that team. So now, again, going back to the point of, yeah, but it was 2017. Come on. Okay, well, the most recent budget proposal put out February of this year, after Trump knew about coronavirus, knew how bad that it could get, had actually had the Bob Woodward interview where he was like, oh man, I was talking to President Xi, and President Xi says this is real bad. This is terrible, and it's lots and lots of death. Lots of death. You still had Donald Trump asking for cuts. In fact, the National Institute of Health budget would have dropped from more than 41 billion to about 38. That's a 7% cut. Again, coronavirus, while they were looking for a vaccine, by the way. The National Science Foundation's budget would drop by 6% to around 6.3 billion. Again, that budget was released just days after Trump talked to Bob Woodward. Here's what he said. This coronavirus is more deadly than even your strenuous flus. This is deadly stuff. Now, that said, does Trump deserve zero credit? I don't know. The Trump administration did do Operation Warp Speed. Moderna was part of that. In fact, that program, which was ran by Health and Human Services, granted Moderna about $955 million taxpayer money to support the clinical development of its vaccine candidate. $483 million was granted when Moderna began phase 1 trials in mid-March, and another $472 million was granted to support phase 3 of the vaccine trial in July. In August, the federal government also signed a $1.5 billion agreement to buy and fund the distribution of the initial 100 million doses of the Moderna vaccine, if it's approved, with the option to acquire more doses. So Moderna had worked with federal researchers, the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, to develop the vaccine, and the government helped design the company's trial as well. So again, a massive public-private partnership where you have a lot of taxpayer money get funded into these companies in order to help develop this vaccine. And so now, could you credit Donald Trump with that? Not personally. The administration, I guess. But Trump specifically? No. I guess he signed the executive orders. But other than that, he ran around actually making coronavirus worse. Again, Ivanka makes it seem like, oh my God, bravo, Daddy. Bravo. Good work. Good work, everybody, but especially Daddy. Okay, well, thing is, as I said before, he was setting the conditions for coronavirus to spread even more. He even caught it himself. Homeboy caught it himself. And then made the White House into a cluster. Like, you had over 130 Secret Service agents and staffers get sick with coronavirus because Donald Trump. His chief of staff, Mark Meadows, got coronavirus. The secretaries, Ben Carson, he got COVID. And so, come on, dude, they all got COVID. All while Donald Trump, again, was doing these massive rallies, these super spreader events, and talking about the vaccine, it's going to come momentarily. Oh, is it? Is it? I guess it's pretty close now, but since we're doing pretty well. But that, again, he was saying that all the way back in August and July. So, come on, dude. Again, it feels like we're close to a vaccine, and that's good. But you had over 230,000 people die already. We're getting at 250,000 people. We might have even passed that already. And you know what? We're going to see more. And these are people that didn't have to die. I know there was going to be a percentage, 40, 50,000 people if we had taken stringent and strict measures and taken this seriously. I understand that. And I think anybody would also understand that, like, hey, yeah, of course, it does. It's a virulent virus. It's mutated a couple times. It's very, very, very easy to get and to spread around. But like, the death toll is excessive. And again, we're in a situation where right now we are seeing a massive, massive spike. So 230,000, we'll be lucky if it's under half of a million people that die of coronavirus by the time that we get a vaccine that's correct, that is ready, that is done, that we're done with the trials. And so, come on. Couple of tweets here. Okay. Let me give you that. Jen Pal says, this couldn't have less to do with you, meaning Ivanka. Racer44 says, congratulate the scientist. You did nothing but pressure them for his own political purposes. Like always, he takes credit for the accomplishments of others. It's over, says, be happy. Like when the Pfizer vaccine came out with their efficacy rate and your brother and dad shit on it because of the timing. Noted. And then there's this great point. Silver Eagle says, Donald Trump has politicized the vaccine so much that people don't trust the safety of the vaccine. I've definitely seen a lot of that. Trump has politicized the FDA, and USA citizens don't know if they can be trusted to have the best interests of the citizens at heart instead of being bought. And then, of course, there's this question. Hannah Wenabove says, does your dad have a rollout plan for the vaccine? Or is he just watching TV, yelling about victimhood, and taking credit for things that happened in spite of his horrific response to the pandemic? I think we all know the answer to that question. All right. That's all the time I have, actually. So we'll get to that Mitch McConnell story tomorrow. I didn't realize that the stories are chock full of information today. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to save that stuff till tomorrow. So tune in here, of course, again for another show. That is 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every day, 4 to 5 p.m. So don't miss the show. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the super chats. Love them. Much, much appreciated. Let me go here and see what's up on Twitch here one last time. So thank you to all those who, of course, donated the bits. Thank you for the super chats, the subscriptions, all that stuff. Thank you. And yeah, that's it for the show. We'll see you all tomorrow. Stay safe, mask up, all that wonderful stuff. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll see you all later.
There's some whores in this house.
Yosemite's.
Please clap.
Give me a break.
I have not loved this conversation.
Tighten up my meat. I like my meat tight.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.